Okay, welcome back to the last stage of day one. It was called Tunnel Rats, and yeah, you get wet. So you join me just as I'm waiting for bloke on the range to finish his post-run interview, and yeah.
Oh, that's hard. The guys that don't time out on this are going to be doing really well.
It's just fucking lightning storms and you're just like...
Well, thanks for making me feel good about my prospects.
Good luck.
Now, one does get wet in this stage. However, I never go to the field without plenty of spare socks and actually spare boots. So before I went on the stage, I actually changed out of the tanker boots because I wanted to keep them for the rest of the competition, stay in character, and put on a set of regular combat boots. This would prove to be absolutely far and away my worst stage. And well, you'll see why shortly. But note the two pistol targets at the far end there. Actually, the rifle targets as well, but they're in a black background. So the first 6 shots, 2 from each position, easy enough.
What's the target?
And then I get to the one time in the stage where having a bullpup was a problem. I just couldn't get left of the rifle with that post in the way. So a very unconventional fighting position, but it worked. Now I found 2 other bullpup users, speaking to the other Tavor chap, and he said he had a similar problem on that stage. But he was a little bit smaller, I guess. He was able to squeeze himself in. Now going through the tunnel, I learned 2 things very quickly. First, I am too tall to attempt to carry this thing through in a stoop crawl thing. So I eventually just kind of slugged my way through. Now, next lesson learned. I failed to properly adhere to the instructions.
What?
Drop the ammo can back here.
Shit.
There.
And yeah, I dropped the ammo can in the wrong spot. That didn't help. What helped even worse were my pistol skills. Now, this kind of threw me a little bit, because when I shoot on the Army pistol qualification range, yes, I get it. It is a simple course. You can probably pass it if you take the rounds out of the magazine and you hurl them at the target. However, I usually shoot expert. In fact, I'm usually one of the highest scoring people out of the unit whenever I go to the range. So my complete and utter inability to hit anything on this stage was a little bit of a surprise. Now the other thing you'll see again is that you've got the metal targets on a black rubberized background. You have absolutely no feedback as to where your rounds are going. And I end up starting to spiral a little bit, start in the middle and spiral my way around until I can figure out what the heck the point of aim should be for me to hit the target. And you'll see eventually when I do finally hit it, it only takes me another couple of shots before I get the second one.
You're joking.
The failures to feed are common on this. I don't know why.
That was low.
Fortunately, in most cases, you just tap the slide back in the battery and continue on.
Pistol here, and let's go.
Now, and back I go. And for the return trip, I decided, okay, I'm not going to try to lift it. I'll just slide it and push it, which is fine until I got to halfway. And then you hit this mound of dirt, and you got no choice but to, well, what Ian ended up doing was simply quaking the thing, which is probably the right choice.
Tanks do not fucking float.
So finally made it back, and although I'm good with the rifle, yeah, timed out immediately. I mean, that was just plain abysmal. Now, why did I pick the 1445? Well, I don't actually own many full-size pistols. And it was that or the high power, and I'm going to keep the high power for a different event. So ordinarily, I when I take the 1445 to the range, I shoot quite well with it, and well, that just didn't work out in this case. It's a bit unfortunate. As for the bullpup configuration, as I said, it was the one and only time that I had an issue with the bullpup, and I may or may not have had a similar problem on the M4. Now, there are official ways of firing a bullpup from the left shoulder if you're a right-hander firing right-hand bullpup. I didn't think to do any of them. I just made do, but it worked. Had I been training a little bit more perhaps. Now the reason I picked the Tavor is, as I say, I knew that the sight was more or less correct that it was sighted in. The controls are very similar to the M4 carbine of the Army, so you have the same rotating selector, you got the same index finger magazine release. And I just like to balance the bullpup, so I felt comfortable with the rifle, and I was very happy with that choice. I would happily do it again. If I was going to do it with a pistol, however, I'd change out to 1445 for a 9mm. I'd maybe a SIG P320 or something. And you'll notice a lot of the other folks are using optical sights on their, like a hollow sight or whatever on their pistols, red dots, and I'm shooting irons, although the rules would have allowed me to shoot with an optic, but that's what I had, so no excuses. I mean, I just abysmally failed in long-range pistol shooting. I do get a little bit better, even though the next day is a very pistol-heavy day. And being the next day before you get going, it was sauna and drinking. In some cases, rather a lot of drinking with interesting side effects. Sauna, of course, is the national cultural touch point, I guess you'd have to call it. You get no choice in the matter, in you go, or people look at you strangely. And although they won't look at you strangely for wearing clothes, heads up Americans, you don't wear clothes.
This is what alcohol does to you, lads.
Well, you can. I mean, you can bring a bathing suit if you really want to, but generally speaking, it's not expected. Anyway, the next day came far too soon, maybe with a mild hangover, and again, there are more silly challenges. And as you can see, it involves trying to balance a cup of water on your hat, or if you're bareheaded for some reason, your head. And as you can see, Firepower United was the first to fail, and he was rewarded with that. He had to wear a horse unicorn modified hat on top of his head, which actively interfered with his shooting. And I think they got the point at that point that, okay, the silly challenges are well and good, but sometimes the penalties can get a bit too far. So you may see in Firepower's or Page's videos his funny hat, but yeah, you won't see it again. He abandoned it at that stage. And what was the stage, you may ask? Well, it's called Disco Stew, and it is a pistol only range. There are 3 lights which light up either red or green. If it's a red light, you shoot with one hand. If it is a green light, you shoot with 2 hands. You don't know which one it's going to come up next. You got to move to it. And by the way, you got to bring a kettlebell along with you. The bell actually only weighs maybe 40 pounds. It's a lot more reasonable than that one from yesterday. But this was a very fun stage. I very much enjoyed it. And, well, no, still didn't do all that great.
Everything clear?
Red is 1, green is 2.
Correct.
Okay.
And I would be repeating that mantra all the way through the course, just to make sure I didn't forget. Now, as you're looking, you can see I have changed out my earpieces. The tethered earpieces of the day before are still actually around my neck. You can kind of see one just above one earpiece just above the pistol mags. But I have totally untethered ones, which stayed in, no problem for the entire day. And away we go. So it takes a while, and well, what I probably should have done was, instead of slowly walking, actually pull out the sidearm first. Now again, it's a 1445, so I have only 14 rounds in the magazine. Fortunately, there were 28 engagements, so it's 2 full magazines, assuming I don't eject one for malfunction.
Shoot.
And what you'll see here, for some reason, I shoot better one-handed than 2. Almost all my misses were in a 2-handed stance. I also have a rather more unique single-handed pistol stance than most of my colleagues apparently. I see a lot of them will still shoot one-handed square on. I go for a more dueling stance myself. Now another lesson that I learned was relating to dump pouches. Now of course in the army you don't have a dump pouch. You simply push the button, disconnect the magazine, let it fall to the ground and grab another magazine. You know, why waste time? However, not so in a competition. You are supposed to retain your magazine. Now initially when I found out about this, I thought sure I'll just put it in my cargo pocket. Easy, leave a cargo pocket open.
You said that.
Somebody just said I was doing great. Unfortunately, I discovered that I had brought the wrong uniform. So I brought, as I say, I went as a tanker. Those aren't frac use. That is actually an aviator's suit. And there's a lot of similarities between aviator uniforms and tank crew uniforms. Because they both have pretty much the same function. You spend a lot of time sitting down inside a vehicle, which has a great fire risk. However, because you're sitting down, they figured that the standard top opening pocket isn't as useful as one that is a side opening pocket. Which meant that I couldn't stuff a magazine down my cargo pocket when I was done with it. And of course I didn't have a dump pouch because the army doesn't give you one. So what I ended up doing was my canteen cup holder, tucking in the lid for that, and I sort of used that as a de facto dump pouch. As long as it wasn't falling over, things would tend to stay in. But every now and then I sometimes... Oops. Yeah, you're not supposed to shoot the white guys. Still try to put a magazine in my pocket or whatever. And the other catch with the magazine, again, the army doesn't care quite how fast you reload, because there's supposed to be a whole squad of you. So if it takes you 5 seconds to reload a magazine instead of 2 seconds, who cares? The army's more worried that you have your magazines in the first place and that they are in a functioning condition.
2 rounds left. Oh well.
Quick check in the magazine. Which is why the magazine pouches come with covers that you have to unvelcro. And it takes a surprising amount of time when you're on the clock to open them up. To first stow your empty magazine and then access another one. But as I said, I thought it was doing well. I was a little surprised, a little bit disappointed I timed out on that one. But with just 2 rounds to go, it was fun.
I'm happy enough with that.
So I've already started saving a little bit of time. So now I've figured out what I'm going to do with my spare magazines, at least some of them. I'm not going to lose any more time with ear protection for the rest of the match. And then on to probably the most creative, if perhaps also the most infuriating stage. They called it Hot Wheels. And you see that small little human silhouette on the lower left corner there? That's the paper target that we have to engage after popping 2 balloons. The catch, the 2 balloons are attached to radio control cars being driven as randomly as possible in an evasive pattern by 2 people. So you can either get it completely right or get it completely wrong. And to give you a break, there's like if you expend a full 30 rounds, i.e. a magazine and a half of 7.62, if you're shooting one of those, you're allowed to say, okay, let's move on to the next step. Otherwise you could be there forever. And when you get a bloke on the ranges video, it's kind of good lord. He takes 2 shots and he's done.
Try to find yourself to this Japanese premium car from the 90s somewhere inside.
Hang on. Yeah. Can I pull the seat out and sit in the back?
No, it's not possible. You have to
Ah!
Because this is the best time of your life, this prime era of your life in Nissan Prime Era. In this bay you shoot the 2 balloons, then you shoot 10 times to the paper, and then you remove the magazine and 1 hit to the steel target.
We'll see if I ever can get out of the
That
balloons.
sign is there to give you the note that you are probably shooting something hard, but it's Japanese car, so there's nothing hard.
Okay.
But do not shoot the car.
Not as if it's a
Gotcha.
Volvo or something.
You have any questions?
No, I don't need to worry about the pistol. I'll never get there.
Enjoy it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Now this actually turned out to be the one stage where having a bullpup was really handy. The guys with the long rifles like the G3s, they had a serious
Who
problem.
designed this stage?
Yeah, and you are already in the starting position. I will walk you through the course, so no worries.
Okay.
You don't have to remember everything.
Mm-hmm.
And are you ready?
Yeah.
So I had laid the rifle down as I usually do with the ejection port up, which meant that the magnifier was flipped in the up position.
Come on.
And for some reason it took me too long. Now, you can see how the balloons are going around here. And I'll try actually aiming at the things. Then I saw that this isn't going to work. So it's almost rapid fire and hope for the best. But I do get them.
Now 10 shots to the paper.
Now some people just absolutely machine gun those 10 shots. I'm not that comfortable. Slow and steady, and then quick flip up with the magnifier to acquire the small, like 6-inch diameter target way down their range.
Oh, bugger! The Nissan shitbox is on fire!
And it's time to get out.
Help!
All of your belongings and left safety back.
Okay, put the mag into my canteen cup. Grab the dummy, it's not too heavy.
Come on, you little bastard.
Okay. And remember, you have 7 seconds when you enter the box.
There's one large target and 3 small targets. As soon as you enter the box, a 7-second timer starts. And unfortunately, the echo
What's that for?
of the shot firing coming off something metal, the metal cans, sometimes makes you think you heard the impact. Of the round on the target, when in fact it was not, and that led to some confusion. In fact, Chris, in the next squad behind, shooting his M16, he got into quite the kerfuffle with the range officers, claiming, "Well, look, I was getting no feedback. I thought I was getting hits. He didn't tell me otherwise." That was a very fast 7 seconds. If you didn't get it within 7 seconds, all 4 targets, you had to take a single shot from the penalty box and then go back to where you were. You see, I got the hit. It's got, well, did I get the hit? Did I get the hit? Times to change the magazine. This time because I'd already put one into the canteen cup, the other one tried to go into my pocket. Yep, reset the timer.
Shit.
And that was it. I just said I was not going to get to the pistol stage. That was kind of a fun stage, all things considered. So I'm going to quickly zoom in here so you can see the targets that we're trying to hit. As you can see, they're not too far away. They're small enough, but this is where my 25mm actually came in pretty handy. You just got to literally aim center mass, pull the trigger, got a reasonable chance. So any misses are my own fault. That said, you can also see that they're not necessarily the easiest thing to acquire quickly, given their small size and relative color with the background.
What's that?
At least I'll make big holes. May the power of the 45 bring things around.
Load and make ready. Holster.
So that thing that she's shaking there behind me, they decided to give us all a dose of smelling salts just to give us a bit of a jolt before we get going. This stage is known as Man Against Man. It's again a pistol only stage, Joy, and it involves a dueling tree and then dueling. And I was genuinely afraid that I was going to run out of magazines, given my previous work with the pistol. But first, 6 holes in a pretty close paper target, and because I was shooting 45 and made nice big holes, I could easily tell whether or not I hit them. And then a dueling tree. Again, I've never played with a dueling tree before. I had seen some folks hit these little targets repeatedly and not actually get them to go all the way around. At least the 45 had the momentum that it swung it round if I ever hit it. And you're hearing the odd tink here, so I'm actually not doing abysmally. Again, add a battery, tap it back in. At that point, you realize, look, it's very rare that a tap back in isn't going to fix it. So the hat came off for the dual part of the dueling tree, the man against man. Of course, this guy isn't really straining himself at all. They picked their guys specifically to be tough, and it became a judgment call on their part. If they felt that you were giving 100%, they'd kind of let you push them forward a little bit to get across the line. If they felt you were not giving 100%, they'd push you over. And it was 20 seconds regardless of how you did. If you were able to push him over the line, if he let you push him over the line, you got a bonus. Okay, that was a genuine issue. So again, take the time, unvelcro the mag, and actually start knocking them down relatively quickly there for a second, and then that last one just refuses to go down. It's kind of perpetually going in the same place. And as you can see, that was done with the last round of that magazine. It was also my last magazine, although I did have a couple of spare rounds in my cargo pocket just in case if I had more time.
Come on, you're a tank. Move him.
The hat, of course, came off before the rest, and I think there was a way of doing this without it being damaged. It was the only time in the competition that the hat came off, and I was sure that whenever I went back onto the line to shoot, the hat went back on again. Gotta stay in character after all. But that was it. I mean, no particular lessons to be learned, just working pistol fundamentals. Little practice. And on to the next stage.
Gun clear, hammer down.
That stage was to be called the double spinner with cheese. It's not just one spinner, but two. First the pistol spinner, and then the rifle spinner. Now, I was pretty confident I could do the rifle spinner, but given the way my pistol shooting had been going thus far in the event, I was a lot more concerned about the pistol target that I have to do first. Oh, and by the way, the cheese in question is the large tractor tire that you have to haul behind you. However, game as I was to give it a go, I just hoped I could do the pistol and then the rifle. Oh, there is a small little target in the middle that has to be hit after each spin as well.
Stand by.
The tire didn't seem too heavy, but it was enough to slow you down.
Good.
Top plate first, Nick. Top plate first. There you go. Now get your bottom. Now go top.
Getting a little bit of coaching from
Bottom.
Les.
Wait for your top.
I almost had it,
Top.
and then I lost it.
Bottom. Top.
The
Bottom.
good news is, when the 45 hit, it actually
Top.
did reasonably well.
Bottom.
Empty.
Top.
Empty.
Again, this is the first time I've ever faced a spinner target in my life, so I knew the theory. Putting it into practice was
Bottom.
going to be the problem.
Top. Bottom.
Another
Top.
failure. And of course, you don't
Bottom.
have the time to mess with that with a spinner.
Top. Bottom. Bottom. Bottom.
There we go again.
Over.
Bring him to
And over. So to clear the pistol, a single shot on that small target. I heard them laughing at the time. I wasn't quite sure why. And again, this is failure to listen to the instructions. They said nothing, that it had to be a single arm shot, a single hand shot. But given that I was shooting better one-handed than two, maybe it was just as well I didn't listen to the instructions. And then on to the rifle. Again, 25 meter zero, so pretty much just aim for the center. And when it goes over,
Nice.
finish it with that little plate. And done. So not only did I complete the stage on time, it's the only stage that I actually passed, I managed to do it with no penalties. So I'll take that as a win. And all good things must come to an end, and so it was with stage 10. And it came to an end with a good stage as well, has to be said. This was simply creative and a lot of fun. Not particularly physically demanding. You just had to remember a few things. It was more of a mental challenge than a physical one. And I have to say that the guys that ran this course LARPing as if they were characters from Heat, they got to almost reenact their bank robbery escape with the various cars here. They probably had a great time. Anyway, one lesson I will observe here is that it is handy to bring a sling. There are a couple of stages where having a sling was handy, and this was one of them, so bring a quick detach. And you'll also see that I've switched the magnifier to the side. So again, I flipped the side, works fine. There were some folks had an angled red dot that rotated the rifle 45. You didn't even have to do the flip. But this EOTech flip to side magnifier was great. I actually got it from my Iraq deployment, and I've been using it ever since. And if you're curious, up front is one of the Vortex hollow sights. Vortex do a hell of a military discount, so I've been buying a lot of Vortex optics recently. Anyway, on to the stage. And so starting off with 10 rounds through each window. Again, some people practically machine gunned it. I took my time to make sure I didn't lose any stupid penalties.
Shut up.
And again, this is one of the stages where the short overall length of the bullpup was handy. I mean, I'm sure the guys with long rifles didn't waste too much more time, but every little bit helps sometimes. Says the guy with Velcro straps on his magazines. And you'll see I'm not exactly taking my time on the targets anymore. It's basically rapid fire, gun away from army shooting, and trying to move the competition. So that done, take down the combinations that you have to shoot with the pistol target. Note to self, get a Sharpie. I think originally you were supposed to memorize it, but most of us who had a pen, you see I took the time to actually replace the pen and the cap. Oh well. And I was deliberately slow on the wires, because the penalties if you mess up the wires, and it's your fault, were sufficient that it simply wasn't worth it.
333, right? Sorry.
And again, 3 quick hits. Okay, there was a miss. It's a semi-auto. Just shoot again. And the clearing shot. And obviously, because these are big targets, there's no need to flip the magnifier back. Okay, so now you have to hook up the detonator. Or detonator, the power source, whatever you want to call it, to the charge. Again, doing it slowly.
On the way!
Press and hold till the light goes on. And now you gotta shoot those combinations that you wrote down earlier.
V1.
Yeah, more pistol trouble.
Oh, come on.
But the real pistol trouble is me just not being able to hit the targets. And you can see I'm going all over the place.
That wasn't.
And
Be high.
that was simply me.
X2.
That was simply me being bad shot and not taking my time.
Oh, come on. X2.
And thus ended my run at Finnish Brutality.
My pistol.
As you can see, the targets shouldn't have been that hard to hit. Of course, I went and screwed it up anyway. But no matter. So, overall, how did I compare against the other 234 people? And no, that chap with the hat isn't me. He actually worked with US Cav a few months ago. He didn't run the contest wearing the hat, so I was the only one to actually have the Stetson on at all times. But that's beside the point. So other than looking cooler than everybody else, how did I do? Well, remember I went in with the goal, insofar as I had a competitive one, of not being in the bottom 25% out of 235 people. That means that I had to be 176 or better. I failed. 205 out of 235. Now, actually, if I cheat a little bit, I can say I came out with 2 wins. So, firstly, I did not DQ, disqualify. And they were saying, look, everybody is eventually going to disqualify at a Brutality. There are the people that have, the people that will, and the people who are lying about it. And one of the catches is the safety rules are actually a bit different than you might expect. And according to Bloke on the Range, if you follow for certain the British Army safety rules to a letter, you will be disqualified. And I did a few things on the range that would have disqualified me as well had anybody seen me do it. And again, this is simple unfamiliarity with the local safety rules. They do make sense when taken as an aggregate. It's just not necessarily what you're used to. So, no DQ. The other thing I noticed, though, because when I came out with 205, I was a little surprised. Because if you look at the positions that I got in all of the stages, and you average those positions out, you end up with a much more reasonable sounding 185. Yes, it's still in the bottom 25%, but at least I can feel a little bit better about it. So, what actually happened is that the score is cumulative. It's a cumulative time as opposed to, an average of how you did. So the penalties, the massive amount of penalties that are racked up on stage 5 is what bumped me all the way to the bottom. How was the competition itself? Somebody had said that these things are addictive, and they absolutely are. I'm looking forward to doing another one. Hopefully the Army schedule is such that I will actually be allowed to do it, because of course the Army always wins over what my travel schedule is. And it was just a lot of fun. It is so much more interesting to do these scenario-based engagements compared to simply taking your rifle to a static range and plinking away. So I do highly recommend, if you have such a competition in your area, go for it. And if you're like myself and you're a little on the older side and you're not going to win, who cares? It really was a heck of a lot of fun. So again, extreme gratitude to Varistelica for reserving me a ticket, because these things sell out in 7 seconds flat, and for hosting us, and to all the other guys in the media squad that we call ourselves, I guess, for allowing me to take up one of the slots and hang out with them. Again, they'll all have their own videos, and if you want to see how to do it right, go watch theirs. Anyway, once that was done, it was back on the bus to Helsinki, and of course I went to Parola. I had to, because you know, I can't go back to Finland and not do some filming, so there's going to be 1 or 2 things from Brutality to come out. And then it was off to Helsinki for, yes, a little bit more sauna time at a harborside sauna, completing off with a dip in the Baltic.
Oh, hang on. It says... There is no way this is 21 degrees.
It's designed to troll you.
We're gonna need the camera.
Okay, I'm in. I'm in. Happy? Good. I'm out.
Some folks needed a little bit more encouragement than others. But considering it was the middle of August, I tell you the water was still pretty chilly. I was very glad to get back on the airplane, come back to my 106-degree days where the swimming pool water was a much more reasonable 86 to 88, and go back to that. Anyway, I hope you found this all interesting and informative. Had a hell of a lot of fun, and well, thanks for watching. And now we will return to the regularly scheduled content. Take care.